Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
So when I was working on Selena, the series for Netflix, to play the role of Abraham Quintanilla, I put on a specific amount of weight, which I was fine doing, but also realizing it could be difficult to get that weight off. I got back into my physical regimen with James Leha, but I was still having trouble with just those last amounts. And that's when I got to meet Arturo from Laredo Medical Weight Loss Clinic. And just the products that he gave me kind of put me over the edge. I feel great about myself.
We're back at you in Gloves Off, and today we're talking about an issue that's going to hit Laredoans hard. It's a $417 million bond that is coming up for election. And with us, we have a great guest. His name is Fernando Baldazo, an entrepreneur here, a businessman here of Laredo, who is concerned about these issues and is voicing his concerns. And we want to find out exactly what are the facts. How are we doing today, Fernando? You doing good?
Hey, Paul, nice talking to you. Yeah, doing great. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for the invitation to share my opinion and some of the facts, actually, not just my opinion, but actual facts, you know.
Yes, can you explain to us, because all we keep hearing is it's for safety, for health, for the streets, and for an elderly health. That's all we hear. What is actually going on in this month?
Okay, first of all, I was talking to a few police officers, and I go to almost every city council meeting, or try to go. If I don't go, I stay watch them online. And it does. I think public safety is important, and it's the most important thing where we can invest money in our officers. They risk our lives, to keep us safe. And I completely agree with their needs. And, hopefully they get funded. But here's the situation. We already have a huge budget in town. Our budget is actually way bigger than other cities that are bigger than us. To give you an example, and I use this as a reference, Arlington, Texas, which is the home to the Cowboys, Texas Rangers, Six Flags, and I think they even have a small riverwalk. They have a population of about 400,000 people, 398,000 to be exact. According to the city of Laredo, our population is 255,000. So we're smaller by about 35%. Yet their budget is 35% less. Their 2025 operating budget for Arlington is about $722 million. Our budget for the city of Laredo is already almost $1 billion. It's $988 million. So right there's a difference of about $300 million every year. So instead of going out for this bond, I think the bond money, we have it every year already. We don't need to go out for it. We have it. We're just so financially irresponsible. That's the problem.
Well, that has always been the issue with Laredo. It seems you get some good people in council, but there's an administrative hardship that we have a lot of not serious people that are heading a lot of these departments, and we all suffer because of those not serious people. And they try to protect them. And what gets me with the city of Laredo is that somebody does something wrong in one department, they end up becoming the chief of another department, and they just play this musical chairs. But all things aside, let's talk about the bond. You mentioned the police. Some people say that they've outgrown the police headquarters. Some people say they need a new training facility. Some people say that they already bought the property. Some people are saying, so there's a lot of things going on, especially within the grapevine. And we want to find out what is actually going on and what is needed. And so let's talk for the first issue, safety, which is basically the police concern.
I understand they've been there since 1990, and obviously the city is not the same that it was in 1990. And there's more need for more space, more officers. And as I said before, I completely understand and I agree with their needs. Is what I disagree with is going out to borrow more money when we already have that money. We have enough money. We have our budget. If we compare it to Arlington again, let's keep that same city, Arlington, Texas. Our budget should be about $550 million. If we spend the same amount per capita than Arlington does, we have twice as much money, and it's not enough. It's never going to be enough, And what the city needs to do is become financially responsible. How do you do that? Well, in your home, my home, there's a bunch of things we want to do, a bunch of things we want to improve, but we have a budget. We rather pay the electricity bill instead of paying the house. What's more important? And that's what the city needs to look at. But again, there's plenty of money in the city if they just allocate it to the things that are more important.
Okay. And another issue that we're talking about is streets. Don't we pay already? Our taxes go for the streets. What is going on there for the new streets? Are we getting more streets? Are we building more, or we're resurfacing the ones we have? What is going on?
Well, an argument that I hear, and it's valid, from city officers, city officials, is the city has grown so much, and there's more needs. I agree. The city, we have more subdivisions, from north of the Loop, behind the new academy. There's some huge new subdivisions. There are new industrial parks on 35, new industrial parks, way big industrial parks on Mines Road as well. But I come back and tell him, but the tax base has increased as well. The city has grown, but now you have twice as many people or twice as many properties contributing to the tax base. Instead of you were probably collecting 400 million, now you're collecting 600 million. So the city grows, but your tax revenue grows as well. Plus, remember the increased value that our county imposes on our property every year. So it grows with inflation as well. And then we want to get a double whammy it will increase with inflation. Plus, they want to increase the rate as well. Man, give us a break. Our governor, our legislature, Texas legislators are constantly working on getting us a break. We just got a break in our homestead. It went from, I believe, 50,000 to 100,000 now. Well, as soon as we get a break, the city or municipalities go out for a bond. Man, we can get a break for 1 year, So again, it's the same issue. The city has enough money if they just become financially responsible. And I think no citizen in his right mind is going to say, I think I need to pay more taxes so the city can go out and just do whatever they want with the money. Because usually they'll tell you, we're going to use X amount to fix A. They will always run almost 100% of the time. They have change orders. So if they're telling you it's going to be 417 million, it's not. They're going to change orders on whatever they're doing. There's inflation, so we needed to increase the amount. They're going to go with cost overruns. Oh, we haven't foreseen cameras. We haven't foreseen this other stuff. So it's constantly changing orders. So whatever amount they're telling you now, it will probably be at least 50% more. Just look at life downs. It's currently happening that you're running into cost increases.
And that's what gets, and people do not understand construction. They'll give you a bid, but then all of a sudden, at the bottom, there's a clause that it can go up because of the change orders and so on and so forth. And I understand that it's business, right? But we need the negotiators, the attorneys that are doing these contracts, to be watching out for what the city needs. The city means the populace, the citizens, not for what the administrators and stuff need. They're protecting the citizens of Laredo. If our tax money is going right? Because I always say, no, we're actually the city, the attorneys for the city of Laredo, the employees, and so on and so forth. Actually, there's questions there that we need to find out. So we need to get good negotiators to produce the contracts for the populace, the citizens of Laredo. Understand? And that's what we don't have. And that those negotiators have not been seen in a very long time here in Laredo. Now, what you've been out there talking to people and talking to businessmen and people and citizens. What have they told you about this new bond, this $417 million bond?
Well, some people they did not know the cost, first of all, because I believe the city must provide the cost to citizens. You know how much your tax revenue is going to increase, how much your your tax burden is going to increase, and they're not sharing that at the moment. They're going to leave that at the last second. People don't know that. They think, oh yeah, you ask them, would you like more police presence, more safety? Everybody's going to say yes. But if you tell them, oh, it's going to cost you this much on top of what you're already paying, then they're saying, no, of course not. So it's about informing population, informing citizens. I mean, you're always welcome to donate money to any tax entity that you want, but if you want your taxes to increase, just go yourself and give them a check yourself. Don't make the rest of us increase, don't increase our tax rate.
I've talked to a lot of people that have called and concerned. In fact, I wanted to do a debate between people that are for it and people that are not for it. And usually somebody from the city to say, this is what we need and so on and so forth. Because we haven't heard that. They always talk about these town halls and they always mention the day after it happened. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. Listen, my thing is this. If they were so concerned about the safety, if they were so concerned about the roads, if they were so concerned about all these issues that are in there, they would have already have done it. Right now, it's about giving them a blank credit card for them to do whatever they want. And it's not their money. It's the money of us, of everybody that's in here. Right now, the citizens of many people are in financial stress. They're not making it. They're not even paycheck to paycheck. They're going under. They're losing their houses towards these taxing entities. And people don't really care about that. And right now, it's about taking care of the citizens that you were elected to do so. And people would say, well, you're against the police. We're not against the police. We're not against that. It has to be done in a correct manner and how it's going to be done.
I completely agree with you, Paul. And it's like we're not against anything. It's the money is already there. If they would just spend it the right way, if they would prioritize, if they're so concerned about safety, as you mentioned, how come they haven't started? Why was a statue that's $1 million prioritized, a decoration, over safety? Why are we building a tree house that's $700,000? It's an ornament. It's so unsafe on District 7. That was ordered by a previous councilman on District 7. And it's the same guy that also built Santa Maria bike lane for $700,000. I mean, are you going to trust this council with a blank check who make all these bad decisions? These bad financial decisions. Remember, they just gave themselves a 65% increase, and they had no problem doing that. If they were so concerned, they would say, instead of giving ourselves this salary increase, let's put it towards safety, or let's put it towards senior citizen housing. But no, they prioritize themselves, and now they come to us asking us, give us more of your tax money, more. We already, I think, out of 244 counties in Texas, we're number 4 with the highest property taxes in the state. Yet we are the poorest nation with 100,000 citizens in the whole country. So you have this huge tax burden on the poorest city in the United States. But yet they still want to increase our tax rate. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Because you're talking about increasing tax rate. Property taxes are going to go up. You yourself are in import-export. You yourself have a lot of colleagues that have tremendous warehouses that cost a lot of money in property, and they're valued so much. And they're talking about 127. I hear 127 per year increase, 200 increase, 127 per month increase. There's a lot of numbers going on in there. So what is the actual increase that you've seen, that you studied on each property per 100,000?
I see at least $250 for every 100,000. That by the time, if this gets approved, it will be about $250 for every $100,000 of property value.
So,
Which is a
so
lot. I mean, their average home is about 230,000, which accumulates to about $500 more or less, about 600, which means $50 extra a month. That's $600 a year extra on top of your already high property taxes. And all of this for what? For a blank check with the promise that they will do something, and we don't know if they're going to do it or not. Has a politician ever lied to you? 100% of the time. Have they always run into cost overruns or extra expenses, change orders? 100% of the time. Do not allow yourself to be taxed even further. Vote against all of these propositions. If the city really had a priority on this, they would have already done it. The city has the money. They just need to be financially responsible.
You talk about financially responsible. I hear that from a lot of individuals out there, and as well as individuals inside the city that are talking about this, because as several individuals from inside the city have said, Paul, it's because the previous administrations didn't do their job. So we're going to trust you guys in there. Granted, the city council that we have now is a new city council. They weren't part of the previous administration. This is a new mayor, and the whole city council is a new city council in there. But the actual directors and people that are employed to make the decisions are in there. Many of them, a huge 90% of them, were from the previous administration. Now, the previous administration did a number on Laredo and did a number on businesses. Granted, we went through a pandemic. Granted, we had a lot of small businesses that were closed because of that pandemic. A lot of people were intimidated by the pandemic, and they were intimidated by who? People from the city, from the police to the inspectors and so on and so forth, that were shutting down businesses left and right. And now they're asking us, we need your help again for this. If you've already misappropriated our funds or misguided our funds, misappropriated the way you administered our money, do you think we're going to have the ability to say, we trust you? Really?
I mean, if you just, I mean, I understand. We already have this huge property burden on us. And a lot of people cannot watch city council. They cannot be on TV for 5-6 hours to read the agenda beforehand or participate in city council. I completely understand that. And that's why a few of us try to do the citizens' job, and try to inform them. And I do that often because I just feel there's an injustice. And I try to inform citizens of the facts before they make a decision. Let me just give you another example that I run into, because for the same reason, people cannot always attend city council. In Resolution 2024 R215, the city of Laredo bought property from the name of the vendor was Cuatro Vientos South or something. I try to find out who they were, and it rounds up to San Lorenzo mini storage. And as far as I know, the city can only do business with people that have actual offices, mortar offices, brick and mortar offices. That's not a brick and mortar office. It's a mini storage that's empty. Okay. I did that research. Well, they bought this property. That's, to me, I've done some commercial real estate investment in the past. And we sold the property for $316,000 an acre. Okay. Recently, about a year and a half ago. And that property was platted, industrial, M1. It had a Mines Road frontage for $316 an acre. The city of Laredo bought a ranch, okay, brushland, no frontage to any major highway, more expensive than 316. They pay almost $346,000 an acre from this company that I cannot find who the owners are. I mean, did they do the research? And this is how financially responsible they pay. I think that property at the max should be 70,000. Let's go with 100,000. They still pay 1.5 extra, twice as much extra for a property. And you want me to trust them to do good financial decisions? Of course not.
Now, here's a question I'm asking. That property that you're talking about, what's it going to be used for, or is it being used for now, or what is it? One of the proposed properties they want to build, or what's going on with that property?
I think they already bought property for the police station. I think that's for the police station, according to it was on the agenda on sometime in 2024. I mean, I can find out the exact date, but it was on the agenda, and I believe it's going to be used for police headquarters. They're so confident this thing is going to pass. Why is that confidence? Because they already have probably between 2,000 and 3,000 votes. And that's another reason why they're having the election not tied in with a general election or a primary, isolated. So people will go like, oh, they're not going to go vote for just one thing, you know? And that way their votes, their local votes that they have more weight. You know, if there's only 5,000 votes, they already have 3 that's going to support them, 3,000, as opposed to a mayor election where 50,000 people vote or 60,000. Then those 3,000 secure votes that they have weight less. That's the reason they're having it off any election, you know, by itself, freestanding the election.
And we already know how the police do with elections. You know, several of them got convicted or arrested and for voter fraud, so they got caught in that one. So is the integrity on the police and elections very viable? No, not really. You know what I'm saying? But you really can't voice your opinions, because Laredo has a type of element within it that if you vote or you state something against the city, they will blackball you, they will blackball your business, they will go after this, they'll go after that. Those shenanigans have been going around Laredo for a very long time, since you and I were kids. And it's kind of diminished, but it's still there. It's still there. We have a problem. I think Laredo, the city manager, the city council, the city leaders that are in those different departments have to start cleaning up their departments before we can start thinking about building a police headquarters or expanding elsewhere. Because without cleaning up your own police department and weeding out the bad elements or the bad apples, we're never going to grow. We're only going to produce bad apples. And that's what happens. You know, I do believe in that old saying, one rotten apple ruins the barrel. And we have to do a cleanup of our departments before we can start expanding. And leave it that way or not. But, you know, what you're talking about, they're already buying property and they're assuring themselves like this is already going to be through. That does not give me a vote of confidence to say, you know what, I'm backing this up because of it. And this is nothing to say, you know, because we have excellent peace officers, we have excellent first responders, period. But there is that shadow inside Laredo that keeps up popping up.
Yes, and I think, as I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, I mean, we do need that. And then, I mean, the more resources our police officers can have, our fire department can have, I mean, they need to be safe so they can provide safety for us. But I would encourage the police officers and the fire department to pressure the city into stop wasting money first on, look at the Plaza Theater. How many millions have we lost there yearly on maintenance for a building that's not being used? Sell it. Stop the waste, stop wasting money there. Sell it, do something with it. If it's not generating revenue, if this was a business, I mean, all those people leading in charge of our city, they would have been fired already. Easily. I mean, they waste so much money on things we do not need. And that's the problem. And that's why people need to go out of their way and vote against all of these proposals. It's not that I'm against them, it's that we're wasting money. We need to cut the fat first before we go out and ask citizens for money. We need to prove Our government needs to prove to us, impress me with your financial decisions. But so far, it's just the opposite.
Absolutely. Now, you said something about the elections being towards, they're not tied in with any midterm elections. They're not tied in with any major elections. It makes me think that they're trying to pull a wool over our eyes. They're expecting us to be too busy to not go out there and vote. And then once they pass this, they already have us locked in. And guess what? It's more taxes, it's less accountability, and it's a continuation of the same type of governance that has been issued here for very, very long time. And
Just look at the water situation. How many bonds have we gone out for? Even when the Pico Road plan was being built, as soon as we spent all the money, the Pico Road plan was only at 50%. Then we went out for another 50 million and another 100 million, and it's never enough. People were indicted for it. I want to see some of those actors in jail, some of those people that have done all those terrible investments in jail before they get my confidence. All those people buying property at 3 times its face value, they're getting approved. Those people need to be held responsible for their actions.
what you said about buying property and you can't find numbers, that's kind of shady. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's something that is.
I mean, I couldn't find it. I did a lot of research. I'm not saying there's something wrong. The numbers are 3 times as much that I would pay for a property that's unplatted, and I cannot find the owners. It just went after one corporation after another after another. I was finally able to find an address in San Lorenzo, and it was an empty storage unit. That's it. So I mean, that looks a lot shady. And you want me to give those people 417 million? Come on. And all this information that I'm sharing with you, I don't research. As soon as I found out they were going to ask to increase my taxes even more, and let me compare our city to other cities. And all the information is found on the internet. And I'm thinking of posting it on my personal Facebook page. With the link where I find it. It's basically the City of Laredo webpage and the City of Arlington webpage. There's all the information where I found it. It's not shady at all. It's completely public.
So what I like to hear, because there's a lot of people that are going to listen, and a lot of people are going to be trying to question where you got the information. Is there any way they can contact you in case they want to be they want to vote no or more information?
Yes,
Can they
definitely. Look for me on my Facebook page, Fernando Baldazo. I'm pretty vocal about politics, local politics. I try to get inform myself as much as I can, and with proof. Any other information you need, I have explained to a few people. If you're open, let me explain to you why I'm voting against it. And so people open their eyes. Most of the people like, oh, I didn't know this. I didn't know that. Like, yeah, the city of Laredo is not informing you of all of that other stuff. So yeah, feel free to contact me, send me an inbox on Facebook. And during election time, if you cannot go for some reason, every vote is going to count. We need to take a friend to vote. If you cannot vote, text me, call me, inbox me. I'll arrange for somebody to take you, or I'll take you myself. But every vote is going to count. Remember, we're negative 2,500 already. So we need 2,500 people to go vote against it so we can be even.
And what he's talking about, the numbers, is that we're negative 2,500, because that's more or less what is employed by the city of Laredo. And believe me, everybody in the city of Laredo is going to be pushed to go vote. There's something that happens here in Laredo, Webb County. I'm pretty sure it happens in other cities, but here in Laredo, Webb County, for those listeners that are out there, during elections, you have early voting. And during early voting, they can get a list of who voted the previous day from the elections office, and they say Democrat or Republican. And everybody usually votes Democrat. Why? Because they work for the municipalities. And they'll go down and they'll call you, hey, Paul, hey, Fernando, you didn't vote. Would you please go vote? Why? Because they know that you haven't voted because of the list that is in there, because they have the list of the voter.
Information, I mean, that's completely legal. They can do that, and that information is public. Anybody can request it. I actually, when I ran for city council, I would request that, and I have the list. And Yeah, obviously they have an advantage because they're having paid employees helping them, and we have volunteers only. We're investing our own time, our own resources, limited resources and time to do good for the city. So, I mean, I
But
would just encourage everybody to vote against this. Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
but the reason what I was saying that is if you work for a municipality and you don't vote or you didn't vote Democrat, well, guess what? You got blackballed. You're gonna get. Unfortunately, that's what happens. Those are the shenanigans of the type of governance that we've been having here for a very, very long time. And it hasn't changed. We have to change that. The only way you can change that is at the ballot box.
That's right. So more information I'll be posting, and if I run into any other further information. But I mean, I have plenty of examples to tell you why we should vote against it. But basically, it's the responsibility of our city officials investing our tax dollars. That's basically it, And I mean, I can go through a list for an hour of all the overpaying they've done for little things. As I mentioned, the treehouse, the Santa Maria bike lane, which is a completely waste of time. It just, I think, has caused more damage than has helped anybody. The statue, almost $1 million for a bronze statue that took about 10 years. La Plaza Theater. I know the city also does a lot of nonprofit donations. We need to look at those as well. I'm not saying all of them are bad. Some of them do help people. We need to have those, take care of those people that help our citizens, that help, feed Laredo. But we need to get rid of some of the other ones that are just politicals. Get rid of those, and we don't have to go out for bonds. We have enough money in the city already.
I want to thank you for your views. People, if you're out there and you need more information, I'll put Fernando's link on Facebook link on the bottom of the description. And you can watch this both throughout our social media channels as well as Patreon and YouTube and everywhere where we're at. And listen closely, pay attention, because this is a burden for the future, and make a right decision and go out and vote. Look at everything that's going on. And once more, we're not against police. Please do not get that right. Yeah, wrong. We're here for good police officers. Remember what I said?
We're not against any. I mean, I think senior citizens. We're not against any of the projects. What I'm against is increasing our taxes. Increasing our taxes when we have the money. We're already paying twice as much taxes than any other city in Laredo. We pay twice as much as Arlington, San Antonio, as many other cities. You want to pay more? No, there's no need. Cut the fat first. That's what we need to do. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for the opportunity to share these views. And people, I encourage you to vote against all these extra tax increases. Never vote yourself into more taxes. It just makes sense, but it's up to you. Get informed before you vote.
And another thing I want to share is, now we're hearing the school districts want to put a bond next year as well. So they're going to start coming. So once more, we run out of time. You guys stay safe, be safe, and God bless you, Fernando. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Have a great day.